Does your practice suffer from weak patient flow? Purple Tie Guys may be right for you. Purple Tie Guys is the most effective way to fill your waiting room with new patients. Clients usually see significant improvement in as little as 30 days.
Since I began working with Purple Tie Guys, my stream of new patients has never been stronger, and my waiting room is packed.
Side effects may include swelling of the waiting room, increased happiness, and a better bottom line. Serious, less common side effects include sports cars and Swiss bank accounts. If you experience patient flow that lasts more than 8 hours, hire additional staff and tell your marketing advisor immediately. Increase your patient flow with Purple Tie Guys. No contracts, just results. If it makes you money or brings us happiness, you'll find it right here. This is The Purple Tie Show. Welcome to the show. I'm Robert Martin.
I'm Blake Singleton, and this is delicious water.
What? You're so weird. So I want to talk about a couple of things on this podcast. One, I want to talk about a sham.
It's not a sham.
Well, it's not a sham, but it should be a sham.
The way that it was approached is very scammy, but it's not a sham.
It's very shammy.
It's not shammy.
So
that's a
well, let's just talk about it.
Porous cloth material.
Okay, so no, you're thinking about a
ShamWow.
ShamWow. So we had a client today receive an email from another, marketing company. Basically, if you go really look at their website, they're a freaking marketing company. At the end of the day. But they sent this email and they're like, oh my God, your website is not ADA compliant and you could be sued.
Now, for those of us not in the know, what is ADA?
The Americans with Disability Act. Americans with Disabilities Act. So it's basically people in wheelchairs,
people who have
hearing problems,
visual,
vision,
auditory, or physical or mental disabilities.
So Americans with Disabilities
Right.
Act, the ADA. So your website is not ADA compliant, and you could be sued because Beyonce got sued or whatever, right? You were looking that up.
Background story, earlier this year, like January of this year, Beyonce got sued because her website was not ADA compliant. There was a blind lady in New York that was trying to browse Beyonce's website, and she couldn't because the website didn't have proper, I don't know, it was like...
Well, I think it's like text-to-speech or something where the converter will actually read the website, which is cool, right? Totally get that, totally think it's, we should make it as accommodating as possible.
Right.
However, she's also a private entity, which their laws around private entities are really weird. Like, it's a gray area.
Yeah, but Beyonce as a brand, because let's face it, that is a brand and a business.
I'm struggling real hard with that, but go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, she's a singer. She has all kinds of other entrepreneurial things that she does under the Beyonce name. It's maybe in her own home, Beyonce's just a woman.
That's like
has
saying
a kid and a
Justin
husband.
Bieber's a brand. Geez.
Bieber's a brand.
Oh, man. Okay.
Are you a believer?
So, I'm gonna argue real bad in just a minute. So, the rules around this is like really vague, really kind of a gray area.
It is, yeah.
And so, okay, so like if you are let's just say a convenience store, and I've been in many convenience stores that they're lucky to have a bathroom, let alone an ADA compliant bathroom with like wheelchair access and stuff. Like that ain't happening.
I've seen a lot. Obviously,
there was a gas station when we were on the road and we traveled between here and like Aniana a bunch. There was a gas station that we always stopped at because it was the only gas station for like miles. And their bathroom, you needed to know what you had to do.
Yeah, if you needed to sit down, you had to back into
that bathroom. You had to back into the bathroom and like the sink was like
so
in
tiny.
your chin, and like everything with like
It
your
was so
arms
small.
touched both walls. I mean, there's no way this was ADA compliant. So,
fun fact: the ADA is only 30 years old this year.
and so the reason we know all this is because today
we had to do a bunch of research.
do a bunch of research because, our client sends us this email that says, oh my God, your website's not ADA compliant and you can be sued, and all these lawyers are just jumping on the bandwagon and waiting to sue you. And he's like, hey, are we ADA compliant? I'm like, I don't know. I mean,
we didn't build the website.
I mean, there's
also,
let me go check.
To be fair, I did not realize that there was ADA regulations on websites. I knew about the text-to-speech reading, and I knew about the high contrast for visually impaired and stuff like that, but I did not realize that there was a regulatory document.
A governing document. So, well, here's the thing. A few years ago, I remember going to a website, and it had a little handicap thing in the corner that looked like, a handicap parking spot, right?
Yes, symbol.
Sounds really bad. Symbol. But it was the handicap symbol. And when you clicked it, it took you to a separate, less pretty website that was just like text and very high contrast and had very simplistic, like, here's a way to contact us. Here's our services. Stupid easy to read. Like straight up black on white, like no color, no nothing, website. And that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that I'm just like, dude, what? Like, you can't make just a color. So let's say you had a button, right? And the button, one button was green and one button was red, and the green button did one thing and the red button did another thing, but the color was the only way to differentiate the buttons.
Right.
There wasn't like a text like click here to click yes to, yes, I want to charge my credit card, or no, I don't want to. Like, you have to have other, which is common sense, right? If you're on a website and there's just a red button with no text, I'm probably not going to click it because that may be the button.
Right, but you have colorblind people
who can't tell the difference.
I mean, if you had a blind person, so let's talk about the back end of this for a second. The fact that years ago you had the...
And this is a touchy subject.
Yeah.
Like, this entire thing is a touchy subject.
Years ago, whenever you saw the handicap symbol and it took you to a different website, you don't have to do that now. It is not incredibly difficult to make your website 100% ADA compliant.
Yeah, your current website 100%. And I mean, we failed the test.
Not by a lot.
But we did fail a little bit.
And it was things that, it's like you were saying, there were aesthetic choices that I made that affected the ADA compliance. The main one where we had the most errors was the form at the bottom of the website. Mm-hmm. I took away the label names and moved them inside the fields.
And
because it's more visually appealing.
But you can't do that.
Because the labels have to have words.
Or the text to voice, the text to voice reader can't go through and like...
It would know that there were fields there to be filled out, but it wouldn't know what fields were what.
Right. And so
I had to move the label text back outside of the field. And so now it's not as visually appealing as it was to me, but it's more usable for people that have disabilities. And
so, I'm kind of torn on the idea of, okay, well, let's build a, aesthetically ugly site, right? That's just bare bones, minimum. Here's what we do. Here's how we do it. Here's a way to contact us. Here's the black and white version of our website. And it's 100% ADA compliant.
I will say this, though. You do not have to do that. There are plenty of tools out there that will help you create a visually appealing website that is ADA compliant. In fact, I went ahead and installed a colorblind tester on Chrome today so that I could see where I would have issues as far as, colorblindness.
If I were colorblind, this is what the website would look like.
Right.
And I installed a plugin that will actually go in and test the website and be like, okay, here's the issues we found that should be addressed. Now, some of them are just like out there. Like, the contrast isn't right on this thing. And it's like, it was a dark the background is white. Or, yeah, it's a dark blue background and the text is white. What part of that is not high contrast? But neither here nor there. It's frustrating. And from a business, standpoint, it's frustrating because you've spent all this money on this website, and now it's not ADA compliant. And since you are a doctor, and you serve the public, you're like, okay, well, crap. What happens if Susie, who is colorblind, goes to the website and can't read the text to call?
Or tries to fill out a form and can't figure out which button to click. Or puts the
wrong information in it,
right.
Or whatever.
Right.
And suddenly she's frustrated and upset and files a complaint. And now you've got an ADA lawyer, which we read this today too, that they are, it's just like when the drug companies release a drug and then they find out that, surprise, Roundup. Surprise, surprise, it causes cancer.
Yes.
Well, of course it does. It kills weeds in like 2 hours. What do you expect? You're no better. I mean, your immune system's a lot weaker than a weed. Have you seen them grow? I mean, they'll grow out of concrete. You're not doing that. Of course it causes cancer. But now there's like lawyers that's like, if you think you've been affected, call the law firm of blah, blah, blah today.
Yeah.
A cash settlement's waiting for you. And it's like, okay, so now you got all these lawyers that sue happy. That's like, ADA compliant websites. Well, let's send out these letters of intent.
Yeah.
Right? And scare these doctors into making their website right.
And going through the regulations earlier today, it is super vague at points.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of gray area in this.
But one of the things that I read was if you have a business with less than 15 employees and you do not serve the public, meaning you don't have a brick and mortar store where you serve the public, you don't have to be ADA compliant. Okay,
so I, and in turn you, we used to do RC racing.
Yes.
And there were people in wheelchairs.
Yes.
And you had to go up on like this 2-story thing and go up this ramp, and it was like 15 feet off the ground. And,
yeah, it was a story up.
It was a pretty high thing, and there wasn't, the wheelchairs went up the ramp. Not that it was completely safe, and I wouldn't have. I got nervous just walking up the thing, so I can only imagine. And then they were like, but the bar's in their way, so they can't, this thing's not.
Okay, so hang on. You gotta paint a picture though. This bar was 4 feet high. It was a safety bar for people, or maybe it was 3 feet high. It was maybe
like 3 feet high, but it hit them eye level.
Right, because they were sitting.
Right. But here's the thing. It was a private club, so technically they didn't fall under the ADA guidelines, so they didn't have to do, right? And there's a lot of gray area. Like Walmart. You you absolutely have to. Mm-hmm. Winn-Dixie got sued because their website wasn't. Then there was the big, Winn-Dixie got sued too. There's been a couple of Domino's got sued because the guy couldn't order pizza. Did you read that?
No, I didn't read that.
Okay, so Domino's got sued for not being ADA compliant, which they obviously didn't learn anything because I just shoved their website in the ADA compliant thing and it come back and was like, this is wrong and that's wrong. And they had a bunch of stuff wrong. Walmart is like, dude, they're off the charts as far as ADA compliance on their website. So
meaning what?
Oh, they're not compliant at all. I mean, it's like red flags and check marks and like orange stickers all over the website. Well, you saw it. It was like
I didn't see it.
It puts like a little red pasty.
Oh yeah,
and a little yellow pasty, and it's like these things are wrong, dude. Their entire website, you couldn't read the website for all the pasties on it, and it's like, okay, you've got a large company like the size of Walmart. Right, and I realize if you're listening to this in like California, y'all probably don't have Walmarts. But look
Walmart is everywhere.
Look up Walmart.com. In Alabama, they are a staple. We got tons of them. But you got a large company like Walmart whose website is not ADA compliant. I didn't run Amazon through it. I'm sure Amazon is also probably not ADA compliant.
Oh no, Amazon. Well, I don't know if they fall into this because they don't serve people at a brick and mortar location.
So,
see, it's a gray area. But on the same subject, we found out earlier this year that Amazon has its own search algorithm that it uses keywording to pull things, and that's why whenever you go to Amazon, the title of whatever you're looking for is, 300 characters long because they got to put every permutation of the keyword in that title for it to show up. It's crazy.
I mean, so
I'm sure that they've got, keywords and tagging and stuff like that. Oh my God. I can't even imagine trying to use Amazon if I were blind and had to have a screen reader.
Oh no.
I would just be like, nope, not even going to try.
No, I'm going to call somebody and be like, hey, order this on Amazon, just ship it to my house.
Yeah.
But it's probably, okay, so Amazon doesn't really serve the public in a brick and mortar location. Walmart does, but then you got to argue, well, my website isn't, I mean, yeah, it's a piece of advertising for my brick and mortar, but my brick and mortar, like I have handicap ramps and I'm handicap accessible and I have all these things, but my website is not friendly to these certain things, right? I can't, the text to speech won't work. I don't have closed captions on my YouTube videos. That's another huge thing. Like all the videos have to be subtitled, right? Mm-hmm. And then anything, we found this out. Now we don't have a, brick and mortar type. We don't service people here, right? They don't come to the office. So technically we wouldn't have to be, ADA compliant, but all of our podcasts, this podcast would have to be transcribed.
Yeah, that's another big
into
thing.
Words, actual text, readable words.
Yeah, our podcasts that we've done in the past, we would have to go back and have transcribed if we want the entire website to be ADA compliant. And, a couple of podcasts back, we did an automated transcription just to see how hilarious it would be, because trying to transcribe two different people for a machine is going to be really difficult. What are you trying to show me?
That came in, which you'll be like, yay. We transcribed it, but it was horrible. But it was hilariously funny. I think you put it on the website, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Didn't you put the transcription
I put the whole thing
in there?
Side tangent real quick. Robert was just showing me a lead that came in off of an advertisement we're doing on Facebook, and through automation and that sort of thing, we've got
alerts set up.
So
it's like, hey, somebody filled out a lead form.
Yeah, and that just came in. I didn't get it. I wonder why.
It's like, late. It's almost 9:00 at night. So, long story short, we're working to make his site ADA compliant.
But we sort of got off in a different direction than I thought we were going to go. This company is straight up trying to scare people into purchasing their services. And it's not an inexpensive service. I want to say it's like $300 a month or something.
It is. It's like $300 a month. But here's the the kick in the teeth. The email that they get is so scary.
Yes, it is scary. I mean,
they're making it sound like, they're about to send a lawyer after you.
So, doing the research earlier today, I found out that there are lawyers since the first major case of this happened at the beginning of the year. There are lawyers that have swapped over to only doing this.
Oh, that's where I was going with the Roundup thing, where the lawyers are like, if you've used Roundup and you think you may have the thing, we've got a cash settlement waiting for you. Call us today. Yeah. And then, it's just...
Ambulance chasers.
But this is even, for me, from a humanity standpoint, this is worse than a ambulance chaser, right? Because at least an ambulance chaser is like, oh, well, here's this car wreck and I think I can get something off of it. And, that thing. This is like, okay, well, let's use people's handicap to scare other people into giving us money. You're using someone who is God, that's a bottom feeder. I can't put it into words without cursing. And so we just leave that there.
It goes back to the thing we were talking about earlier with the RC cars. There was a family that went to the RC track, and they had every right to be there. They were good people, but if anything didn't go exactly right, the father of the family would be like, this isn't ADA compliant. I could sue you.
Well, and now that's a whole different wad of wax. And
I got the same feeling, though.
It's the same, oh, well, that's not ADA compliant. They could sue you. And so I get the whole, and it would be okay, so it would be a lot like, let's say you are handicapped, right? You've lost the use of your legs, you're in a wheelchair.
Right.
And you go into a convenience store and it's one of those, hole in the wall, middle of nowhere. You don't, on a good day, you don't want to use their bathroom, let alone if you have a physical limitation. And you go up to the dude behind the counter and your bathroom isn't ADA compliant and I could sue you. Right?
Right.
I feel like that's, and legally and all, from what I've read today, yeah, you could, because they're serving the public, but then you found the thing where it's well, if you don't have 15 employees.
No, if you don't have 15 employees and you're not serving the public.
But if you're serving the public, then so there's so much gray area, right, around all of it. Not just from a business standpoint, your brick and mortar place, what do you have to do to be ADA compliant there? But now they're oh, by the way, so does your website. And by the way, there's lawyers sitting out there that's just waiting to send you a letter.
I think what upsets me the most about this is the fact that you've got people out there, you got companies out there that are saying it is so easy to make a website and start your business today. It's just $15 or whatever, and you just use this website builder and you just throw it up. And then you've got somebody that's I'm going to start a basket weaving company and throws their website up on Wix or Squarespace or something, but knows nothing about this. And lo and behold, some grandma somewhere is I love some basket weaving. I would love to buy some stuff from them, but I can't read the text. And she mentions it offhanded to her lawyer grandson.
Yeah.
And he's like, Grandma, we're going to sue them and make you a ton of money.
And it's okay, well, one, they're a basket weaving company. They probably don't have a lot to be suing for.
They're on Wix or Squarespace using their free whatever.
Yeah, and it's because they've used this free platform, right, that's available to anyone. And because, and it's not even and what do you look at them then and say, hey, I built the website, but they're the ones that they do all the background work. I just picked their template and typed in the words. Shouldn't it be their fault?
Right. They said it was no code. I shouldn't have to go in there.
So it's like, oh crap. Well, now who's that? So the whole reason I wanted to talk about this is because there is a lot of confusion about it, and it's a real topic that needs to be covered. And in every aspect of anything like this, you were talking about the guy with his son in the wheelchair that was, always like, I can sue for this and I can sue for that.
Yeah.
But then you've got the other extreme where it's like, I'm just happy to be able to go do my own grocery shopping, and the fact that you're not, you don't have things set up perfect for me, and I have to ask for help for certain things and stuff, I'm okay with that, man. I just appreciate this.
That brings up a good point. In the grocery store, there are certain things that I have a hard time reaching.
Well, they put them 9 feet in the air.
That's what I'm saying. So how is that ADA compliant? You got, 10-foot tall shelves.
Gray area. Right? And I hate to be like, the sarcastic gray area. But there's just a ton of gray area. Just like with the websites. Colors. Text size, right? Font size. It's got to be able to be zoomed to like 200% without being... Oh my God, yeah. There's a bunch of stuff that you're just like, how do you do that? How the hell do you make that happen?
Oh, it's easy.
And still be...
It was introduced years and years ago. See, a lot of people are still measuring things in pixel whenever they're building their website.
Oh God, here we go. This is nerd.
But there was a new measurement introduced years ago called EM, and it's based on calculations of screen size. So you can increase that, decrease that. Anyway, we'll move on. So
you see, you got a red lightsaber and you got a blue lightsaber, and you just, what, we'll move on. You shouldn't have to know this as a business owner.
The person making the basket weaving stuff shouldn't have to know what EMs versus pixels
exactly
is.
Because
just to make their site ADA compliant, just in case they might get sued.
Yeah, so let's take this to a plastic surgeon, because we work with plastic surgeons, dentists, mainly surgeons, and oral surgeons. They don't teach you this I almost said something really bad. They don't teach you this crap in medical school. They're not like, hey, by the way, so that extraction you just did, we need to talk about your website too. So on top of all this medical stuff, oh yeah, let's talk about your website and the business aspect of running a business, having a website, doing the stuff. It's like, Jesus.
So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of this, right? In the end, it is the doctor's fault for not having an ADA compliant website. However, I would say probably 99% of doctors did not build their own website. What they did was they hired a company to build their website, like us. And up until today, I didn't know that there were regulations for ADA compliance for websites.
So I knew
how many other businesses that build websites for a living know about ADA compliance?
Well, so here's the thing. I knew that there was... Okay, so I didn't know that there was actual compliance, like standards you had to be a part of, like you had to meet. I knew that there was like ADA guidelines, like, hey, it would be nice if you would do this because, high contrast, make it, and it's more than just that. It's like, one of the other people were like, hey, it's just common sense. Why would you shun part of your business away just because your website's not, friendly?
Right.
And but then
the other half of that is, okay, I want to be ADA compliant. How do I do that? And it gets a lot more complicated.
I looked at it earlier today until my eyeballs almost bled. I think it's 80 something pages. and it's really dry. Like it's all legal, like legalese.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so lawyers that may be listening, y'all should do your own thing, because y'all can read that stuff. But it is literally so dry, and it goes through so many things that just doesn't apply.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't apply to websites, period. And then your website stuff is buried in this 80-page document. Nobody going to read that.
Yeah. I found a synopsized checklist that said...
And it's about nine steps.
Yeah. And it is, whenever you really get down to it, it's a lot of stuff that you need to do for SEO anyway. Making sure that all your pictures have alt text and descriptions. Mm-hmm. Making sure that your forms have form identification, like labels. Making sure that your typographical hierarchy, which the ADA stuff is real big on, by the way.
Oh, man.
Have your H1s above your H2s, above your H3s, above your paragraphs. Make sure that it's...
Now, wait a minute. You're going that technical thing again. So, H1's a title. So, like, Birmingham, Alabama dentist as your H1 tag. That's your main title. Tells all the search engines what your site's all about. And then H2 would be like,
That's too complicated, though, because you're getting into, like, for real SEO stuff. No, it's more like header, H1, colors. H2, your subheader, red, green, blue, yellow, blah, 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 blah. And then under the H2 that is red, it would say Auburn, Cheyenne.
Auburn's not a shade of red. Auburn's a football team. I went there.
Crimson.
Oh, okay. So
those would all be under that. And they're real big on the hierarchy because the screen readers place emphasis on the sections based on that.
Okay, so in all fairness, so does search engine optimization. Search engines put a huge emphasis on all the title tags. And if they're not done in chronological order, right? Chronological hierarchy. Anyway,
top to bottom.
Top to bottom. So it's a lot like, okay, everything's read top to bottom, left to right.
Oh, something that you found earlier today that really intrigued me, and I started digging around. I still haven't figured it out. The website company that built our client's current website, the one that we're having to fix for the ADA stuff, had hidden text on it.
That pisses me off to no end. So what they'll do, and I didn't see it, right? Like middle of the page, white text in a white bracket, they had put star, pediatric dentist, star. So that the search engines would find the word pediatric dentist on the website, but it wasn't really visible on the website, but it was kind of in the website. And it was on there a couple of times, not pediatric dentist, but there were a couple different things that were hidden text.
Yeah.
I'm doing air quotes like people can see that, but it was just hidden text.
Yeah, the emphasis makes people hear the air quotes.
So anyway, long story short, it's a very touchy subject. It is a lot of gray area. There's no black and white answer to it. The fact that this company is using the scare tactic to get business, and granted, it's a $300 thing. It's probably a one-time fee. But they're like, we'll get you ADA compliant in 48 hours for $300 and guaranteed. It's like, okay, hang on. Now, there's a lot of stuff that goes into being ADA compliant on your website. There is no way you can cover that for $300, and there's absolutely no way that you can do it in 48 hours.
Especially if you've got a website that has, a blog that has been regularly updated and has tons of articles.
Yeah, what are you going to do there?
Yeah.
There's a lot. So it's very frustrating.
You know what this feels like? It feels like a new version of the, hey, your Google My Business thing isn't.
No, I got
planned.
one. I got one just the other day. Pissed me off to no end. I got a phone call because it always starts with a phone call. and docs, if you go ask your receptionist how many times I hear this day, because I swear to God, it's probably 100, maybe more, where you get ring, ring, Dr. Anthony's office, this is so-and-so. Your Google listing may not be verified and may not show up in the search results for Google. We can help you, whatever, claim your listing or build your listing. Make sure you're listed with the top, and all they're trying to do, Google, that's a free listing, right? Even if you've already claimed it, they'll still call and be like, it's not claimed.
Well, we've gotten that call. Well, you said you got it earlier this week.
So I got it. I got one earlier, like last month. But the new thing going around is I got a phone call the other day, and it was like, your business may not be listed with Amazon Alexa.
The
Google
the
Home,
voice search
Google
stuff.
Home or Siri voice search. Press 1 to be connected to our blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to press 1. Because I do it just to see if I can just mess with them. So I pressed 1, and they, pick up, and they're like, your business isn't. And I was like, okay, so, you've obviously got my business pulled up there and looking at it. And then I'll ask them a question about it. And they're like, whoa there. We'll start off with that business name. And I'm like, if you know it's not verified, shouldn't you know the name of it?
Yeah.
And
or are you just dialing random businesses trying to scare somebody into...
immediately, so I had one that told me to F off. Like, literally drop the F word, F you, and hung up. And I was like, really? And so they were in Florida. Omni Marketing, if you've ever heard of it, which you got to be careful because there's a bunch of Omni Marketings, and they're not, like, there's another Omni Marketing in Florida.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's like 3 Omni Marketings. Dan Henry owns one of them. But this one was they were in Florida, and the mistake they made was they called me, and it was one of those days that I just had admin work to do. Right.
So no phone calls.
So I wasn't going to be on the phone at all that day anyway. I was just, inputting stuff in the computer and just doing some admin, some tidy up stuff. I think it was the day you were gone too. And so I was in the office by myself, and I was bored. So I just kept hitting redial.
And just dialing them back up.
And it would ring through, and they would pick up. And it literally got to the point that they were answering my phone call with, hello, Robert. It's like, listen, I got another question for you. And I gave them, they finally blocked my number.
Yeah.
To where I couldn't call.
Well, now.
Which was fantastic.
The funniest thing was, because of the way that the call centers are set up, you can't block numbers. So they ended up having to shut off the phone number that you had.
They shut off that entire line.
And get a new phone line.
Yeah, it was great. But I was like, I'm going to just keep calling, because the more I call you, the less you can call people, and you're nothing but a scammer. Aren't you a scammer? Tell the good people on YouTube that you're a scammer. And they'd be like, shut up, man. And they'd hang up, and they get all mad. But I really feel like that's the same thing with this ADA compliant thing. It's a scare tactic, and I personally feel like it's a scam. But, to each their own.
So this email that's going around is a scare tactic, trying to scare you into paying them $300 and
you know what?
And getting their cut of the pie. What really upsets me about this whole thing is that there are lawyers mass mailing these, letters of intent. Mm-hmm. And that is a real stressful thing, to get a letter of intent from a lawyer saying, hey, we're going to sue you if you don't make your website ADA compliant, because the website
we just happen to have a company that'll do that for you.
Yeah. The website for some businesses isn't a big portion of their business. I mean, It should be, but it's not. for somebody like us, yeah, if we got a letter of intent, I would be in there fixing it right now. And as a matter of fact, I have been, fixing the errors on the website throughout the day.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's take... I don't want to throw anybody out.
You said, you were talking about doctors earlier today. So not only do doctors have to worry about the health of their patients, now they also have to worry about HIPAA, malpractice,
and now their website's not ADA compliant.
Yeah, now their website's got to be ADA compliant as well. Eventually, doctors are just going to be like, you know what?
F Bob,
F this.
I'm just going to quit.
F it straight into the ground.
Well, and that's why a lot of doctors, they go to work for hospitals and stuff because they ain't got to mess with it.
Yeah.
But, some doctors and dentists don't have that luxury. Like, dentists don't have that luxury. You can't just go work for a hospital. So it's like, do they just pony up and pay the thing? And so let's say, okay, throwing this out there, and then this podcast is going to be like 8 hours long. So throwing this out there, let's say you hire this company you've never heard of, Omni Marketing.
Not Omni Marketing.
It's not
hire Omni Marketing.
It's like A1 something. Anyway, you hire this company. They're a marketing company, and they're coming in and they're going to save you from the ADA police for only 4 easy payments of $99.99. And then so they go in and they say, okay, you are all good. You are ADA compliant. And then 6 months or a year later, because the ADA, compliancy changes on the regs, you get, somebody went to your website, they couldn't navigate it, whatever. They found a thing that they didn't do.
Yeah.
And you get sued. Right?
Or, the regulation changes.
And you get sued. Let's lay out the you get sued part. Because that's a really important part.
Right.
Do you go back to that company and you're like, hey, you said, and they're like, we're going to give you a badge for your website showing that you are ADA compliant. And it's like this little crappy badge that's like, 12 megapixels high by like 4
12
wide.
pixels but wide.
Yeah, 12 by, anyway, I don't know all the pixel stuff, but it's like literally like a 1/4 of an inch tall by like an inch wide. And it's all black and white, and it's like ADA compliant, blah, blah, blah. It's like they ripped it off a website somewhere. They ripped it off the web. They didn't make it.
Yep.
Big deal. You have a badge that says it's ADA compliant. You hired a company to make it ADA compliant. At the end of the day, it's on you to make sure that it's ADA compliant.
The main thing about this, well, not the main thing. One of the major things that upsets me is these lawyers are going out there with no technical knowledge of what it takes to become ADA compliant. They're running these free scanners that you can just pump websites into.
Oh, man.
And it's almost impossible for the scanners to come back 100% ADA compliant, even if you do your best.
Well, that's the thing. One of them that I found, it was like, hey, it really sucks at, trying to pick out contrast and making sure that you don't have contrast errors, which is where, you'd put a light blue text on a dark blue button and it was hard to read or whatever. So take it with a grain of salt, but this isn't great. But, you take this lawyer who's pumping, all these .coms through this generator and it just spits out the ones that's not compliant. And then he prints out, a letter of intent.
Insert URL here.
Insert URL, form fill type thing.
Yeah. Mails
it out. Doctor gets it. Holy crap. This is a lawyer. He calls the lawyer. What do I have to do? Oh, we'll call this company. Well, company A is like, hey, listen, lawyer man, we charge $500. We'll cut you a check for $250 if you get us a list of clients.
Yeah. The worst part about all of this, though, is I was reading about another lawyer who was berating these people that were basically ambulance chasers. And he said the worst part about the whole thing is that even if you paid somebody to go in this and fix your website and make it ADA compliant, even if you've done your due diligence and put your best foot forward, I forget what the term is, but it's
due diligence, good foot forward, best foot,
best foot forward. But you've tried. You've put your best effort to try and make your website
best effort. That's what it was.
ADA compliant.
You can
still be sued. They may not win, but you can still be sued.
Which is still going to cost you money and court
and time
and all this other stuff. So I know we've rambled about this at this point. I mean, we've side tangent on so many different things. I would just caution you.
It is something that you need to be aware of, because a lot of people are not.
Yeah, at least be aware of it and know, that there's things out there. There's companies out there that's trying to milk this, just like they milk the Google My Business thing, just like they milk the Alexa thing. And now there is some, and this is going to be a podcast for another day, but there is some things that you can do to enhance your ability to show up in voice search. And that is one of the services that we offer. And we'll talk about what goes into that in another podcast, because this one has probably been really long already. A very delicate subject.
It's been, as of this moment, 45 minutes.
Yeah, so we should wrap this up by saying it's a very touchy subject. There's a lot of gray area. It is a very taboo thing I feel like it's a very taboo thing to talk about disabilities, period. Because it's not something that, it's always, handicapable, and, you want to shed the best light on the whole thing. But then you've got, the really crappy people that, threaten to sue for everything. And it's a very touchy subject, very gray area. It's something you need to be aware of, something that, we can offer you some guidance in. No one can give you 100%. Yep, you are guaranteed to be perfect at this, and though you'll never be sued, and we can guarantee it. Like, that's just not something that happens. So long podcast drawing to a close. Just be mindful of it and know that it's out there. It's a thing. It really is a huge gray area. Yeah, and
just be aware of it. And if you decide to start making steps to change your website to become ADA compliant,
there's tons of useful guides.
There are tons of useful guides. And if you decide to hire somebody to do it for you, be sure to check them out and make sure that they are aware of all the guidelines. Mm-hmm. And just make sure that you trust the company.
You can't just go out and hire just any random web designer and be like, hey,
I need you to make...
I mean, we were like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I knew there was guidance, but I didn't know that, it was a regulation I could be sued for.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that never crossed my mind. But anyway, if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can find us, this long, drawn-out podcast, you can find us online pretty much anywhere at Purple Tie Guys. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, purpletieguys.com. We love you. We appreciate you listening to our ramblings, and just know that it came from a place of education and awareness, and not a place of like distaste or like we're angry about it, because we're not. No. It's just something that you need to be aware of, and make sure that your business just takes the proper steps. So with that being said, I'm out.
Good night.